Okay, so we're diving into Supermicro's SuperCloud Orchestrator today.
Yeah, this should be interesting.
It sounds a little like science fiction, honestly.
Right, like something out of Star Trek.
Exactly. So let's unpack it and see if it lives up to the hype.
Sounds good.
We've got a stack of reports and marketing materials about it.
And all sounds very impressive.
But what does it actually do? That's the big question.
Yeah, they throw around terms like revolutionizing the data center.
And unleashing the power of the cloud.
But we need to cut through the jargon and figure out the practical implications.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, we want to know
Will this actually make life easier for the people who use it?
precisely. So for anyone who's ever struggled to set up a server,
Or waited weeks for IT to provision a new cloud instance?
this deep dive is for you.
Absolutely. We're going to dig into SuperCloud Orchestrator and see if it lives up to the hype.
So to start with, they're really emphasizing this idea of simplifying data center management,
Right. They paint a picture of the traditional way of doing things.
which, let's be honest, can be a real pain.
It can be a nightmare. All those manual configurations.
The endless troubleshooting.
And don't even get me started on the paperwork.
It's enough to make anyone want to pull their hair out.
Exactly. And that's the pain point that Supermicro is trying to address with this.
They're claiming to take a process that used to take weeks or even months.
And condense it down to days.
Days. That's a bold claim.
It is. But that's what they're saying.
Okay, so color me intrigued but skeptical.
Right. How do they actually plan to pull this off?
That's the million-dollar question.
Well, a key part of their strategy seems to be these pre-built reference designs they keep mentioning.
Okay, so what exactly are we talking about here? Pre-built how?
So imagine you're building a house. And instead of starting from scratch,
You get a kit with pre-designed blueprints,
exactly, you choose the design that fits your needs.
like a ranch style, a two-story, a colonial.
And the kit comes with all the materials and instructions you need.
That makes sense. So in this case, the house is our data center.
Precisely. And the kits are these reference designs.
So you're saying instead of configuring every single server and network component manually,
You choose a reference design that aligns with what you're trying to build.
like a cloud platform or an AI training cluster,
And SuperCloud Orchestrator helps you deploy and manage everything based on that pre-configured template.
that sounds interesting, but wouldn't that limit your flexibility? What if you have unique requirements?
That's a valid concern.
Right.
But they've also built in a good amount of customization options.
Oh, really? So it's not just a one-size-fits-all solution?
No, not exactly. They allow you to fine-tune certain aspects of the system.
Like what? Give me some specifics.
Well, they have this workflow engine, which is basically like a task manager for your data center.
A task manager.
Yeah, but on a much larger scale, it automates many of the steps involved in deploying and managing your system.
So it's like having a digital assistant that takes care of all the tedious stuff.
Kind of. It handles things like provisioning servers, installing software, setting up networking.
Okay, that actually sounds pretty useful.
And here's the interesting part. They allow you to customize these workflows using languages like Python and Ansible.
So if you're comfortable with those tools,
You can tweak the automation to fit your specific requirements.
so it's not completely inflexible, you do have some degree of control over how things are set up and managed.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's like they're giving you the tools to build your own custom data center solutions, but with a lot of the groundwork already laid.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They're trying to strike a balance between ease of use and flexibility.
Which is a tough balance to strike, especially in the world of enterprise tech.
For sure.
Yeah,
But if they can pull it off, it could be a game changer.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Especially for organizations that don't have massive IT budgets.
right. Not everyone can afford to hire an army of system administrators.
Exactly. So this SuperCloud Orchestrator could potentially democratize access to these kinds of technologies.
That's what they're hoping for, making complex cloud infrastructure more accessible to a wider range of businesses.
It's an interesting proposition for sure,
Hmm.
but let's get a little more specific about what this actually looks like in practice.
Sure thing.
They talk about having solutions for cloud, AI, HPC, even storage.
Yep, they're covering all the bases.
So let's break it down, starting with cloud computing.
Okay, so on a cloud front, they're heavily promoting their solutions built around OpenStack.
OpenStack, for those of us who aren't data center experts.
Right, OpenStack is basically a collection of open source tools
Okay.
that let you build and manage your own cloud infrastructure.
So it's like creating your own version of Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud.
Exactly. But instead of relying on a third-party provider,
You host everything on your own hardware.
precisely, it gives you more control over your data and your infrastructure.
But I imagine it's also way more complex to set up and manage.
That's the trade-off. OpenStack can be notoriously tricky to get up and running.
And that's where Supermicro comes in.
You got it. They're claiming that SuperCloud Orchestrator makes OpenStack deployment significantly easier.
By doing what exactly?
Well, for starters, they provide pre-configured OpenStack templates.
So you don't have to start from scratch.
Exactly. And they've also automated many of the configuration and management tasks.
Using that workflow engine we talked about earlier.
Yep, the same one. It can handle things like deploying virtual machines, configuring networking, and even scaling your cloud resources up or down as needed.
So it's like having a dedicated OpenStack administrator on call 24/7.
Kind of, but without the salary and benefits package.
Okay, I can see the appeal there. But they're not just sticking to traditional cloud setups, are they? They're also pushing this whole cloud native thing.
Ah, yes, cloud native. The buzzword of the moment.
It's everywhere. But what does it actually mean?
In a nutshell, cloud native is about building and running applications that are designed specifically for the cloud.
So not just taking old applications and moving them to a cloud server.
Right. It's about embracing the cloud's unique capabilities.
Like what? Give me an example.
Think scalability. The ability to easily increase or decrease your computing resources on demand.
Okay.
Or resilience. If one server goes down, your application can keep running seamlessly on another server.
That makes sense. So how does Supermicro fit into this cloud native world?
Well, they're really emphasizing their support for Kubernetes.
Kubernetes. There's another one for you.
It's basically an open source platform for automating the deployment, scaling, and management of containerized applications.
Containerized applications. Now you're just throwing jargon at me.
Sorry, let me back up a bit.
Please do.
Imagine a container ship, right? But instead of cargo, you're transporting software.
Okay, I'm following.
Each container holds all the code and dependencies an application needs to run, making it very portable and self-contained.
So it's like packaging up an application with everything it needs to run anywhere.
Precisely. And Kubernetes is like the orchestration system that manages all those containers.
Orchestration system.
Yeah, it decides where each container goes, how they communicate with each other, and how many of each container need to be running at any given time.
So it's like an air traffic control system, but for software containers?
Exactly. It keeps everything running smoothly and efficiently, even when you're dealing with hundreds or even thousands of containers.
Okay, that sounds seriously complex. And Supermicro's solution can handle all of that.
That's what they claim. They've designed SuperCloud Orchestrator to integrate seamlessly with Kubernetes.
So if you're a company that's moving towards this whole cloud native approach,
Supermicro wants to be your go-to platform.
I see. They're trying to position themselves at the forefront of this cloud native wave.
Exactly. They're betting big on Kubernetes and containerization.
Interesting. But what about AI? Everyone's talking about AI these days. Where does that fit into Supermicro's offerings? So they're aiming to be the go-to platform for AI workloads as well.
They definitely want to be in that conversation. Their materials highlight how SuperCloud Orchestrator can simplify AI development and deployment.
Which is a pretty crowded space right now.
It is. There are a ton of companies vying for a piece of the AI pie.
So what makes Supermicro's approach stand out?
Well, for one, they're really emphasizing their focus on GPUs.
Which makes sense. GPUs are kind of essential for AI these days.
Absolutely. They can significantly speed up the training of AI models.
And Supermicro systems are designed to handle those heavy GPU workloads.
Exactly. They offer a range of servers with multiple high-end GPUs.
So for researchers and companies that are doing serious AI work.
Supermicro wants to be the hardware provider of choice.
Okay, but it's not just about the hardware, is it?
Nope. Software is just as important, if not more so.
And how does Supermicro address that side of the equation?
Well, they talk a lot about providing a complete ecosystem for AI development.
What does that mean in plain English?
Basically, they want to make it as easy as possible for people to build, train, and deploy AI models on their platform.
By doing what?
They provide pre-configured software stacks that include all the popular AI frameworks.
Like TensorFlow and PyTorch.
Exactly. They also have tools for managing and monitoring AI workloads.
So it's like they're trying to create a one-stop shop for all your AI needs?
Precisely. They want to handle all the infrastructure and tooling.
So that data scientists and AI engineers can focus on what they do best.
Which is building cool AI applications. That's the goal anyway.
It's an ambitious goal, for sure. But we haven't even touched on high-performance computing yet.
Ah, yes, HPC. The OG of demanding workloads.
Exactly.
Oh.
So where does that fit into Supermicro's SuperCloud Orchestrator story?
Well, they haven't forgotten their roots.
Good to know.
They still offer a wide range of HPC-optimized systems, And they've integrated those offerings into the SuperCloud Orchestrator platform.
So you can use the same tools and workflows to manage your HPC clusters as you would your cloud or AI infrastructure.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
They're trying to create a unified platform for all your high-performance computing needs.
Interesting. And what about storage?
They've got that covered too. They have solutions built around Ceph.
Ceph.
It's a popular open-source software-defined storage platform.
Meaning?
It lets you create a highly scalable and resilient storage cluster using commodity hardware.
So instead of buying expensive proprietary storage arrays?
You can build your own using Supermicro servers and Ceph software.
Okay, that makes sense. They're all about providing flexible and cost-effective solutions.
Exactly. That's the consistent theme across all their offerings.
So to wrap things up, it seems like Supermicro is making some bold claims with this SuperCloud Orchestrator. They're saying they can simplify data center management, accelerate cloud and AI adoption, and make HPC more accessible.
They are. And they're backing those claims with a pretty impressive suite of technologies.
The big question is, can they deliver on their promises?
That's the million-dollar question, right? The proof is always in the pudding.
Exactly. We'll have to wait and see how this all plays out in real-world scenarios, but it's definitely a development worth watching closely.
Absolutely. If Supermicro can pull this off, it could be a game changer for the industry.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into Supermicro's SuperCloud Orchestrator. Until next time, happy computing, everyone.